Hey guys, this is Michael with Quiet Lawn. Hope you're doing well. Talking about the next stage of growth that I experienced in my lawn care business and that a lot of us do is you started as a solo operator, then you grew to where you were hiring part-time and seasonal employees. Then you made some adjustments to your business to where you could actually keep people longer and keep them year-round. So you got full-time employees and year-round employees. Now you're starting to get employees. You're still out in the field. Now that you've got these employees, now you're starting to get yourself out of the field. So you've taken on a role as a manager, operations manager, maybe an office manager, depends on your skill set. Maybe you're the marketing or salesperson. That you basically stepped out of the day-to-day operations, the landscape, actually doing the service itself for the most part. This stage of growth is very difficult. It's a big learning curve because it's a totally different skill set than being out in the field and being the one that's responsible for the quality and getting the jobs done. Now you got to be a manager. Now you're wearing lots of hats. Usually you're a maintenance person that's responsible for fixing the equipment or making sure the guys have enough equipment. You're making sure they have supplies, all the logistics of that, making sure they have drinks, making sure they have snacks, making sure they have all the materials they need. You're basically a problem solver. You're basically just somebody stepping in and fixing things so that the machine keeps operating. You might be doing sales, you might be doing whatever. This stage of growth, it's fun. You're getting to get out of the field more. You're finally starting to appreciate business ownership because it's just been very stressful up to that point. You've been working a lot. You're tired. You might be burnt out from your business like I was, but you're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. But at the same time, it's very stressful because now you're having to deal with employee issues. And you know that your business is very fragile because, at any time, if any of those employees call out or leave, you're sucked right back into where you were, working out in the field. And for me, this was probably a year or so in this position. You're basically just, it's just very fragile, that position. You're out of the field, but it could end very quickly. And you could get sucked back into having to help out. To be able to grow beyond this, you've got to be able to hire somebody that can fill your shoes. And that's harder than hiring. In my experience, that was much harder than hiring somebody out in the field, because in the field, when you don't have an operations manager, you are the operations manager. You just have technicians. Maybe you have a mow guy, maybe you have a pest control technician, maybe you have a landscaper. It's easier to train somebody to do that job because they only have to be good at that one job and they don't have to manage people. To replace yourself as an operations manager or salesperson or the manager, whatever role you're filling, that's a lot harder because they also have to have all those skills that you have. They have to be able to do each of those individual jobs. Probably, it depends on your size. They need to have the skills to do all that different stuff, but they also need to know how to manage people. They also need to be able to handle logistics and making sure that they know what the guys need as far as materials, drinks, all that stuff that they might need to function every day. They need to know how to either fix or replace equipment or get the equipment fixed if equipment breaks down. So that's the next most challenging part, is just finding somebody that can do those things. Or multiple. Usually it's multiple people. You get to hire multiple people. But that took me a couple years in this stage where I was just kind of in the field. I was doing all that stuff. I was handling everything, fixing everything, kind of doing the odd jobs, doing landscaping jobs or whatever that, you're just kind of filling in the gaps during that time. Once I was finally able to find someone like that, I was able to become truly an absentee owner, to where I wasn't getting sucked back in that position, to where I was having to be out in the field. And not saying that couldn't happen. I could lose a couple people and have to be back out there, but I haven't basically been out in the field in probably 3 years, consistently. So that's the next stage, and the kind of stage that we're in, and I'll talk about in the next video, is being, a hands-off absentee owner. I'm still making the big decisions for the business, like where do we want to go, what do we want to offer, pricing, like, you know, who do we want to hire for these other roles. Like, I don't hire, you know, the field level technicians anymore, but, you know, manager roles or office people. Like, that's kind of the stage I'm in now, and it's the stage that I'll talk about in my next video. I hope this helps. I'm just sharing my personal growth journey of growth over the last, let's see, 8 or 9 years that we've had since we started the business. I hope this is helpful. A lot of you guys are probably way smarter than me, way faster at getting through these stages of growth. But you know, maybe you were smart enough to skip some. But I hope the lessons I've learned kind of helps you get through them, because you know, I'm trying to explain the things you need to do to be able to get to the next stage and what I had to do. But please leave your comments below. I'll talk to you in the next video.